Off lately, we've seen a surge in buyers from Canada and America investing in Dubai. And this is not just, I'm not just saying overall in the market, but me personally, as an owner of a company, we've also seen a huge number of investors coming from Canada and America wanting to invest in Dubai. Now, they used to always inquire before, but the amount of conversions happening recently is absolutely unreal. And hence, I decided to do an episode specifically on this topic with one of my senior colleagues, Ahmed, who is also an American living in Dubai for over 2 decades. So, guys, before I start this episode, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your likes, comments, and shares are really appreciated. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please do follow us there. And Apple Podcast listeners, please do give us a 5-star rating and review. This really helps us getting discovered. And now let's cue the music. Ahmed, welcome to the show. I know you very well. We've been working together for over a year now. But why don't you start with introducing yourself so the audience knows what you do and where you're from?
First of all, Tahir, it's a pleasure being over here. Thank you so much for the invite.
It's my pleasure.
Well, actually, I'm a veteran, almost 22 years in the market.
Great.
One of the oldest veterans, I think, in the market currently.
Yes.
Been in the industry almost 22 years, doing a combination of facility management, brokerage, and hospitality. And currently, I'm with Prime Capital for the last 1 year, strictly accommodating the Americans and the Canadians in the market.
Right. That's great. Now, Ahmed, what is causing so many Canadians and Americans, buying properties in Dubai? Because, look, we've been catering to clients buying properties in Dubai from around the globe for quite some time. And we always had, obviously, people from the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, people from China,
Indeed.
from Russia, Iran, Saudi, the GCC and UK, right?
Correct.
These were predominantly the main buyers, typically.
Of course.
Off lately, we're seeing a lot of Canadians, Americans, investing in Dubai. What is the reason for them to buy?
Wow, Tahir, that's a pretty broad question. I mean, we all know we've been trying to target, especially the Americans
Yeah.
and the Canadians for years now.
Yes.
And to be quite honest with you, we've not been as successful as we were expecting to be. But the last 1.5 year has been working wonders for us personally,
Yes.
to be honest with you. And I think one of the biggest challenges was, and the reason was, we finally found someone that we were able to collaborate and partner with someone in the US in order to have an entity physically there that Americans could be comfortable enough to approach and get educated on the market. One of the biggest things that we lacked all these years in Dubai's market was nobody had the time and the patience to educate the Americans. It was
Yeah.
always
Sell,
let's
sell,
sell. We don't have
Yes.
time to waste on educating people. And that's one thing the Americans lacked. And our partner in the US was able to fulfill
Right.
that empty shoe in order to educate the Americans. And it has actually paid off extremely well for us.
But what are, when you're talking to clients from US and Canada, what, 3 common factors you find amongst most of the clients, the reasons for investing here?
Okay, well, Tahir, we know our biggest sales pitch in Dubai to everyone is tax-free.
Yeah.
Come buy property, there's 0 taxes. Well, that tactics does not work with the Americans.
And why is that?
Uncle Sam does not leave us Americans no matter what part of the world we
Right.
go. So even being in Dubai as an American investor, we cannot escape taxes,
Right.
okay? That's one thing, that's a fact. But what really helps the Americans to diversify their portfolio from the US to Dubai is the higher rental return, higher capital appreciation, and less risk than what US is physically going through in the last decade.
Right.
We are still a new baby market. We're 22 to 24-year-old
Yeah.
market. US has been over 100 years.
Yes,
you
correct.
know, so they've already been through the ups and downs, and seems like they never learn. So one of the biggest benefits that we as Dubai baby market has, that we are learning from their mistakes and making sure that we don't follow in their footsteps.
Right.
And this is what the Americans are now looking into, diversifying their portfolio and try a country that is much more inviting,
Yes.
much more expat friendly in order to come and diversify and invest in the US. Number two, there has always been a factor, Tahir, that people always looked at coming to Dubai to make money. There's two types of people in this in our current market. One who wants to come to Dubai strictly looking into investing to make money.
Yeah.
Now you have a bigger percentage of people who are actually thinking about migrating to Dubai for the sake of their safety and their family's safetiness.
Right.
So this is the major influx of people, the investors that we're seeing that are diverting and coming into our industry. And that's what I was hoping to see. In the last 18 years, we've mostly seen investors coming into Dubai who are looking into making a quick flip, a high capital return or a high rental return.
Sure.
But we did not see that type of clientele who ever thought about coming and retiring into this country. And this is what I wanted to see. And we're seeing that, which majority of them are coming from Canada and the US at the moment.
That's great. That's great. So a lot of people are also buying to use themselves now, and they're not just buying just to rent or flip later on. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Tahir, see, the thing is, majority of, especially the Asian and the American community in the US
Yeah.
and Canada, yes, that's what the plan is. Funny thing you bring that up because just yesterday in my office, I had a meeting with two lovely ladies from the UK. And they are planning to divert their entire portfolio to Dubai
Yeah.
with their family. So they no longer want to live in London. They have decided to finally move to Dubai. So when we asked her, one main reason, why are you guys selling everything in UK and moving here to Dubai? And the answer was quite simple, which we've been hearing over and over now. And that is, my father is looking for safety.
True.
He wants the best for his daughters. So imagine now everybody, all eyes are on Dubai for one particular reason rather than just saying, I want to go to Dubai to maximize on my profits. I want to move to Dubai to save taxes.
Yes.
But that's not the case anymore. People want to migrate to Dubai for one thing, and the top priority one is the safety.
No, that's I totally agree with you, because what happens is a lot of people, what even I'm seeing is they're not moving to Dubai just because they can make more money. These guys already have a lot of money, so they don't really care about making more money or anything. But what they really care about is living peacefully with, of course, safety, security, and it's not just for themselves, but their family, so that they don't have to worry about, that their kids are going down to play. They don't have to worry about any sort of other crimes which happen in the West a lot. So that is definitely one of the reasons. And the kind of lifestyle Dubai offers to people from around the world, I don't think there's any other place, because Dubai as a place is a mix of over 190 nationalities.
Exactly.
Right? And everybody over here gets quite used to the place.
Indeed.
Right? Now, you've been here for more than 2 decades, right?
Yes.
You're an American citizen.
Yes.
Right? Do you see yourself going back?
Wow. I was actually at one point, I had told myself that when my son turns 18
Yeah.
and finishes high school, we will eventually move back. My son is 19 years old right now, and it was just a year ago we decided not to go back. With what's happening currently in America, I think not just myself, but a lot of immigrants who had migrated to America for the land of the opportunity, for a place where you could make your dreams come true,
Yeah.
are, sadly speaking, are starting to realize what reality is. Unfortunately, we beings always see the grass greener on the other side.
Yes.
You will not know how green the other side is unless you start traveling the world. And I've already seen the other side of the US. So obviously, I had to do some serious comparisons in order to make the decision, why do I want to retire here in Dubai versus America? And it is the same debate that a lot of Asian Arab Americans are facing currently in the US. And Tahir, funny thing you just mentioned that. Once again, last night I received a message from one of my clients who happens to be originally Pakistani. And he had migrated to the US 38 years ago. Extremely well established, owns 25 gas stations and lots of properties. And he basically was visiting us last year here in Dubai to buy his first property. So yesterday his message said, Ahmed, my wife and I were thinking about migrating to Dubai.
Right.
I'm extremely scared. I'm nervous because you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm used to how America has raised me.
Right.
And I'm not sure if I could move to Dubai and change my way of living. So my answer was simple and clear. I was like, if you think you have it made, you have every comfort in life that you're looking for in America, but then you feel that you no longer have that sense of safety that you're looking for your children, for your wife, as a second citizen, because let's be honest, even if you're an American, Asian American, you're still considered as a second class. I don't care what people say. I faced that myself growing up in the US. I was always that Middle Eastern American, you know? So you cannot tell me that you will be treated as a first class citizen just because you're in America. So I said, if you really feel that you still have that sense of safety, then by all means, you have no reason to come to Dubai. But if you think that there's that major crucial point of safety missing in your equation, then my friend, it's a no-brainer. You could sell everything you have in the US and move to Dubai, and you could live comfortably for the rest of your life. And I got a message back, thank you so much, Ahmed. You made my decision so much more easier. What is the decision? I have not heard that yet. I'm waiting to see what the decision is. But Tahir, in general, things are not what people assume are in America. A lot of people, Middle Eastern especially, have this perception that America is flawless. It's perfect. Unfortunately, it's not. If you go to America right now and you see the situation, the living condition of what the Americans are going through financially and what the country is going through economic-wise, you will be shocked. Last time I was there was just before COVID. I went back to San Diego for a 30-day vacation. I was just shocked to see that San Diego, one of the most beautiful states, to have the highest population of homeless people literally living on the street. It was just mind-blowing to drive on a street and see all these tents and cardboard boxes. So Americans, unfortunately, are in serious debt. Unfortunately, America, if you go by these stats, the recent stats that were out, only 24% of Americans actually own their homes. The rest
with the banks.
Are with the banks because unfortunately, America is a mortgage owned society, not a property owner society. Why? Because American banks and the government has one mission and one mission only. Once again, I'm sorry to mention this, is to keep the American public in debt for the rest of their life until they go to their graves.
Now, tell me something. This is something which you very interestingly said. Now, unlike the US, here it's the other way around, right? Probably 30-40% of the properties are mortgaged. Rest are all cash paid. And even the ones which are mortgaged, a person needs, if he's a resident, a minimum 20%. If he's a non-resident, minimum 40%, to be put down. Now, how easy or difficult is this to explain to buyers from the US and Canada, because there everything works. The first thing works is the mortgage, right? But here it's not that much. So
Well,
do you find that as a challenge, convincing people?
yes, Tahir, it has been a challenge, to be very honest with you, because yes, Americans do have that mentality
Right.
that everything has to be financed, okay? But when you sit and educate the Americans that look what kind of a slump
Yeah.
your country has been, your people have been by adapting to this mortgage society, you never end up owning the house. So if you already own a property and you want to sell it, well, guess what? You're better off going with the developer's payment plan, for
Right.
example.
Yes.
And that's what I love about Dubai is that majority of our property buyers go with the developer's payment plan. So
plans.
in 3.5 years, they are paid off. They don't own a single dime to the banks. And I think that's one of the main crucial reasons why our market so far has been successful is because our real estate industry, the market, is not in control or owned by the banks.
True.
Unlike the US.
Yes.
One of the biggest flaws in US is that the entire real estate industry is owned by the banks. So that's why when people fail to reach their mortgages, guess what kicks in? Foreclosures. That's why majority of the owners end up losing their homes, especially during right now.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest crises we're going to start facing. We're already starting to see that this year in the
Yeah.
US. People are falling behind their mortgages, Tahir. So is that a bad sign for the banks? No, they're loving it. They're going to love this opportunity to seize people's mortgages. And do you know what takes people to this point where they end up losing their properties? Is the equity loans.
Right.
This is a trend that I'm so much against. It has its pros, but the cons are much more dangerous, which we don't see here in Dubai. Dubai banks don't give you
Yes.
loans on your equity
I mean, Dubai,
homes.
you want to buy a property, you need to have money with you.
Exactly,
Period.
period. You don't
A
have
lot
it.
of times people ask me, what do I need, to buy a property in Dubai? I say only two things: passport and money. That's it.
Exactly, because Star, we don't want to be where
Yes.
America,
True.
where Canada is today.
Yes.
If you don't have the money, let's be very honest with you. Not everybody's meant to own a property. It's not that simple. People need to educate themselves within their own finances before they make such decisions. And I think personally that's a very good thing, because that's what's protecting our market at the end of the day, that the banks don't own us. It's a very crucial, very important point. I mean, last year, Tahir, the only reason America's GDP was saved was, guess what? Due to the consumers.
Yeah.
The consumers were spending so heavily that they were able to save their GDP last year.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, which is why their debt has jumped from 350 billion to, guess what, 1.1 trillion dollar this year.
Wow.
That's how much the average American owes in debt, in credit card debts. So that teaches us a lot, teaches our economy a lot, teaches our public a lot. That's very important for you to educate yourself on your finances and not just go on a spending spree. Because sadly speaking, Tahir, when people came out of their COVID lockdowns, they went crazy.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, we as Americans, by our government, we got stimulus
Yes.
checks, okay?
Yes.
So everyone in our household got $1,000. What do you think the Americans did?
Started spending.
We went crazy.
Yeah.
Instead of paying our debts with that money, pay off our credit cards, we started traveling. We started buying homes. Even though the interest rate went high, not the smart ones who are very smart, they ended up going and buying homes at such high interest rates. The other ones who are locked at a low interest rate at a 3%, they are the ones who are safe in the current market today. But this is what happened to the American general and public, which is why they are so much in debt. They have no savings.
Now tell me something. If someone comes and asks you today, someone wants to invest 2 million dirhams, 5 million dirhams, or 10 million dirhams, what are your top three picks for 2 million dirhams first?
Wow. In today's time, Tahir, you know what the funny thing is? We were just discussing this. I was discussing this with a partner of mine. That there was a time when somebody used to come and tell you, what should I buy in Dubai? It was so easy to
Yes.
pick because you had a handful of developments where you would say it's either A, B, and C.
See.
That's it. Not let's move to
True.
D. But since COVID, because of the amount of cash flow that some of the new developers have that have entered our market, and with prime collaborations that they've been able to make with such big brand names, it has actually become very tough to just pick three
No, but
top.
your top favorites right
My
now.
top favorite, I've been saying this for since COVID time. Dubai South was my best pick because I usually like to have my investors jump in communities in areas which are barely under the radar. So I want my investors to maximize and get in a less capital investment because Americans, to be very honest with you, Tar, they want to test the waters. So they don't want to jump in and say,
Yeah.
Ahmed, I want to buy the most luxury, outstanding property you have starting at 2 million US dollars. No. So they're like, Ahmed, we want to test the water. What do you suggest? So for me, it was always Dubai South under the radar. So I started off with Emar South. I remember selling Emar South 3-bedroom townhouses
Yes.
at 999
Nine.
and almost 1 million dirham.
Those
And look
prices
where
are-
they are today.
Yes, they've added a digit.
Exactly. So people didn't believe in Dubai South until a couple of weeks ago when the news finally came out
Of the
that
new
now
airport.
of the new expansion of the airport. And now when you open your social media, everyone is like Dubai South,
South.
Dubai South, Emar South, Expo City. So yes, Dubai South, Emar South, definitely Emar is one of my top developments over there. And the second would be Expo City.
Right.
You know very well, and actually it was you who had convinced me to actually physically visit Expo
Yeah.
City, and you said, Ahmed, if you visit Expo City, you will change your
just
perspective
love that
about
place.
that community.
Yes.
So Expo City has a huge potential,
Right.
Tar, even though today Expo City is selling at twice the price per square footage than Emar South is, but they have a very good reason
Very nice.
why they are at
Yes.
twice the price.
Absolutely.
Emar South does not have the infrastructure anywhere close
To what Expo has.
Expo has. Expo, I would say Expo City is what, 8, 9 years ahead
Oh,
of
absolutely.
exactly.
It's brilliant. you know.
So imagine how long it would take for Emar South to be at that prices per
Yes.
square footage once they get their infrastructure. So for me, I think this community has incredible wonders and
True.
very good benefits for it.
And for 10 million, what would you suggest?
Wow, for 10 million, to be very honest with you, I like to test the waters and in upcoming, once again, I'm still more about upcoming communities. I personally believe, Tahir, people should be more wise and invest in plots
Yeah.
and build their own villas.
Yeah.
Compared to the prices we're seeing in the market,
True.
with all due respect, I feel they're a little bit inflated and
Yeah.
exaggerated. Why come and pay 20 million, for example, for a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom mansion
True.
when you could literally do it half the price
Correct.
by buying the land and constructing it yourself? I know a lot of people feel that, okay, well, I don't have the experience. I don't have the patience to go through all the X, Y, and Z
Yes.
to do that. But they don't realize we are the ones who are taking the
Taking all
entire
the hassle.
burden,
Yes.
all the basically liabilities, all the infrastructure, whatever needs to be done. We are the ones who will take care of everything from A to Z.
Yeah.
And that's what people are starting to learn and find out from us. And as you know, you yourself are actually
Yes.
working on a couple of projects
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some of your investors.
Yes.
So this is my personal advice. If you have 10 million dirham to spend, that's my way to go. 10,
That's
20
right.
million, definitely that way.
Now tell me something. Nowadays, obviously, properties are selling out also very fast, right? It's sometimes if it's a project which is in extreme high demand, getting a unit is also a challenge. How easy or difficult is it to explain people the concept of EOIs and how offline sales happen over here? Because that's I personally feel like many times when I'm talking to someone and to explain them that look, it is like this. You have to pay the money sometimes, a token deposit even before you
Yes.
see the floor plan. is someone's like, oh no, I need to know what it is. I can't. But ground reality is that over here, if you're not paying, the other people who are willing to,
Yes.
take that,
Yes.
jump. So how do you explain this to clients overseas?
Well, Tahir, that was, to be very honest with you, when we decided to enter the U.S. market, we knew that was going to be our first challenges.
Right.
And due to that, my partner had made the decision to come physically to Dubai and witness a launch, which I believe one of the launches was in Nakhil's office and the other launch was in Emar's office, because she didn't believe it either with
Yeah,
what you and
yeah.
I just discussed. So when she experienced that launch firsthand and realized that we were not able to get our hands on anything that particular day, it was a wake-up call for her. So yes, one of our biggest challenges was when she went back to the US was, number one, to educate the clients that when we are telling you that you have to do an EOI, an expression of interest, before even the day of the launch, weeks before, it is not a sales pitch, because a lot of people assume, not just in America, if you're not living in Dubai and you're abroad, you would assume that's a typical sales pitch by a
Absolutely.
broker. So some of our investors actually ended up facing that by not believing that how important an EOI was. So they waited actually until the day of the launch. And guess what? We already knew what's going to happen. So we said, fine, let him experience it
Yes.
the hard way. Unfortunately, that's what we need to do. So guess what? He waited until the day of the launch and he got back to us first thing in the morning. Is the launch taking place today? I said, yes, it is. Okay, so what are my options? I said, in 2 hours, they will start releasing whatever is available. So I'll call you back in 2 hours. And guess what? I already knew what the answer would be. In 2 hours, I called them back and I said, guess what, buddy? The entire project was already sold during the EOI
Yes.
process. So in today's time in Dubai, date of launch means nothing.
Yes,
Literally
absolutely.
means nothing.
Nothing.
It's just for the sake of coming on social media and saying that we have officially launched this project,
Most
just to
projects are
legalize
getting
it.
on, booked on pre-launch basis. I understand developers are, waiting for the escrow details, etc., and they only announce the launch date once it's done. But also sometimes, what I feel that clients don't understand that most of these EOIs are refundable because
Yes.
the developer is not giving you all the details.
Yes.
Right. So when you're paying an EOI, this EOI is a refundable EOI, but you need to put in to secure the unit. If you're serious, you want a unit in this project, if you feel it's the right location, the right kind of project for you, you put in an EOI. If you're serious, on the day of allocation, if you do not get the desired unit, you always have an option of pulling out and
Yes.
taking your money back.
Tahir, that's a very good and a crucial point you brought, because in America, unfortunately, we have something we call a suing society.
Right.
They love to sue people over everything. So they always want to hold someone liable. So it is very important that we always make it very clear to the investors that, listen, just because even you have put in an EOI
Yeah.
does not really guarantee you
Yes.
a unit. It's still first come, first serve, because
Absolutely.
in reality, we don't really know how many people have set that
Yes.
EOI
Yes.
way before us.
100%.
Every time a project gets launched, you have anywhere from 150 to 250
Yeah,
units.
it depends on, again, depends on the project. Plus, again, there's some developers who I would say, yes, they create a little extra hype.
Yes.
But some are genuinely, people are, putting in 10 times more number of EOIs than the number of units.
Sure.
Right? For instance, like projects like, say, the Address Zabil or,
Yes.
some projects of Emar, right? They were like sold out.
The big branded
Yes,
names,
they
Tahir,
go
they
away very
always
quickly,
Exactly.
Especially if it's a good project which is coming out.
Yes.
Yes, now there are some other developers where they might take EOI and then units are still available. But
especially like in the suburbs
Yeah.
area, those developments, they do not sell out over.
But again, I always tell clients that, look, if you put an EOI, one thing is for sure that you get the first chance to at least select the unit. Not necessarily you will get the best unit only or your desired exact floor or unit, but at least you still have an option of getting something before the rest.
You should be just glad that you are part of that particular project,
Yes,
period. Because,
exactly.
Tahir, everybody has a demand. And in today's market, the first priority is always given to institutions who are
Yeah.
there to pick up floors. And to be very honest with you, 50%, obviously, the inventory goes towards institutions. So there's very little left for us 10,000 registered brokers out there in the market. So yes, if you could get your hands on any unit, and that's what we try to explain to our American and Canadian investors, that listen, be and consider yourself blessed that you're able to get anything in that particular unit. Right. So we cannot be demanding. So yes, now after a year and a half with all that education, they have finally understood that point. But the other second major point that we are facing difficulty is the deposit for the EOIs. Yes. Unfortunately, in America, when you try to run your credit card by over $1,000, there's a red flag immediately by the banks. So immediately your credit card is blocked, especially when that fund is going to the Middle East. Right. Okay, so we found that to be an extreme challenge in order not to use those payment links for the EOI. So the best thing that has worked for our American investors is a bank wire. Right. And most of the time, the biggest complaint we get is the money going into a USD account? A lot of Americans shy away when it comes to the exchange rate. It's something they're not used to. So for them, every cent counts, especially when you're talking about big numbers and you're transferring the currency from US to our currency. So that has been one big challenge. And we've made it very clear that no, they are not USD accounts here in Dubai. So yes, I wanted to make that very clear right here, so whoever is watching to realize and understand that no, we are not a USD account here in Dubai.
Right. And tell me something. How easy or difficult do they find the processes when it comes to buying an off-plan property in Dubai?
They are extremely impressed how easy and the transition is compared to the U.S. Tahir, to purchase a property in U.S. is one of the most complicated things. It's not simple because of there are so many transitions and steps that you have to go through, especially when you're buying an off-plan property. Like, for example, in California, buying off-plan is different versus when you're buying in Miami or New York. Miami and New York is very similar to Dubai when you're buying an off-plan project. An off-plan project is a high-rise tower is launched. You could go put a deposit and continue on paying your payment plans until the handover. But the difference in US and Dubai is you are not allowed to resell that unit until it's officially handed over to you. You cannot sell your property as per the law. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So they were impressed when they found out that in Dubai, after you pay off, you could exit the property while it's still under the construction.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as per the developer's payment plan, you have to pay that certain markup.
Every developer has a payment threshold. Sometimes it's 30%, 40%, 50%. Once you've made that payment, you can easily resell the property.
Exactly. And the biggest challenge for the Americans, once again, we're coming back to the banking system. Because they get their loans to the bank, it's a very hefty, long process because we go through a major credit check.
But
in America,
usually you don't find that difficulty with the Canadians.
With the Canadians is not so much, but Tahir, I don't know if you read the recent stats in Canada. The reason Canada is in a serious slump now, if we're talking about
talking about the money transfer bit.
Oh, it's much easier. They're very lenient than the US. US, to be very honest with you, Tahir, US doesn't want to see its citizens getting their money out of the country. They want that money to be spent within America to help their own economy. It's period. And not just, you know what, Tahir, if you notice now, it's just...
They don't want people to come to Dubai and see how good Dubai is.
You know what? All eyes are on Dubai right now. And I'm not just talking about in general the people. You're talking about governments of other countries as well. they're not, I don't think they're not so happy to see us doing so well. So they want to see their people no longer get their money out of the country and pumping it in Dubai. So a lot of countries come up with strange restrictions that make
Yes.
no sense, but they just want to keep the money within the
Yeah.
country, you know? So Canada is it's much easier. But you know what the problem Canada is facing right now and what they have done to
Yes.
avoid people cashing out? The new
The
tax law
tax,
on capital gains.
67%, right?
60%.
60%.
Imagine that.
It's crazy.
So they have found it extremely difficult to swallow that bitter pill in order to cash out, sell their properties, and bring their money here to Dubai.
I've also seen a lot of Canadians, especially because how we have quite harsh summers, but we're still equipped to kind of handle it. We have a lot of indoor places and all, etc. A lot of Canadians also buy in Dubai for having a winter home because when the winters are there, it's quite harsh, and especially if they have parents and or if they're slightly older, it gets very difficult to stay there. Are you also finding a lot of people buying with that reason that it's a perfect winter
Us-
home
uh,
to come and
you know,
spend
we-
like October, November,
It's a
December
very
time?
good point because, yes, we've heard of summer homes,
Yes.
but yes, Canada has brought this whole new perspective
Of winter homes.
of winter homes.
Yes.
It is very true because the winters are extremely harsh. But at the same time, said that Tahir, for the last 1.5 year, with the influx of Canadians that we're seeing, it is much higher percentage than the Americans.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
Canadian immigrants have a better mindset to migrate to different countries
yes.
than the Americans.
Also,
okay?
I've seen this, right? There was a trend back in 2015, 16, 17. A lot of people from the UAE, Dubai or surrounding places, migrated to Canada, right? Thinking that it's going to be a better lifestyle and all. And they are now, in fact, thinking, oh, why did I leave this place? And they're coming back.
Well
because
said.
I'm seeing a lot of people now,
Yes.
they've got their passports. They're like, okay, fine.
Of course.
Let me come back to Dubai.
Yes.
Life was much
Yes.
better in Dubai.
Tahir, for the last 1.5 years, every client that I
Yeah.
speak to, I try to get to know them at a personal level because it is very important
Very
for
important.
us
Absolutely.
in our industry, especially
Yes.
to understand their mindset. What is the reason that they want to get
Right.
out of their country? And it has always come to what you have said. Once again, we're getting back to what I said earlier. People always assume the grass looks greener on the other side.
Yeah.
A lot of immigrants thought that that Canada is the ideal place to be and live for the rest of your life, until they finally went over there and they said, "Wait a minute, they don't even have jobs over here." People in Canada and America have multiple jobs, Tahir, to support their families. So they eventually have a wake-up call and they ask themselves, is this what we left our country for? So guess what? They put their 3 years, 4 years time, whatever it's required for them to get their citizenship. Once they get their citizenship, guess what? Now they're getting smart and they're saying, goodbye, Canada.
Yeah.
It was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
And they are now migrating to countries that where they feel they're much more appreciated, they could have a better quality life than there is. In the last 1.5 years, at the same time, I've been traveling a lot myself. I've decided to see the other side of Europe. I've never been a big fan of Europe, to be very honest with you. But I said to myself, let's go and venture out and see what's happening in these countries. And let me tell you one thing, Tahir. This has been an eye-opening journey for me because people who live in Dubai for over 10 years, we get so comfortable in this country.
We get so
that
spoiled.
We get so spoiled that we
Yes.
literally moan and complain about everything,
Everything.
because everything is literally handed to us on a silver platter
We're
in
so
Dubai.
used to things running in a very perfect
Systematic
yeah,
way.
systematic
There you
way.
go.
That's it.
We are used to having everything
Yes,
done
yes,
perfectly
yes.
and given to us. So when you're traveling, for example, to Switzerland, the first thing people who've never been to Switzerland, from what they see in the movies and TikTok, on Instagram, it's paradise. True? No doubt, it is
Yeah,
definitely
it's
paradise.
beautiful, no doubt.
My experience was excellent until you go out in the general public areas. Let's start off, for example, with the basics restroom.
Don't even start. Don't even get there.
I mean, right there,
crazy.
you tell yourself when you
Yes.
enter their public restrooms, you tell yourself, wow, really? This is Switzerland for the amount of money
Yes.
that I'm spending in this country. I cannot even get a decent, clean restroom.
Yeah.
Then you compare it to your Dubai.
Dubai.
You go to
You go
Dubai
to-
Mall, it's a
Forget
five
Dubai
star.
Mall, you go to Dubai metro station
Exactly.
and you go,
It's a 5-star
clean.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not only that, just recently, my respect to every country that I visit to, because every country has its pros
Yes,
and
of
cons,
course.
you know.
Totally.
So I'm not dishing out any country, you know. I just recently came from Italy.
Yeah.
We're always complaining in Dubai about our traffic. Really? Wait till people go to Italy. I mean, it is one of the busiest places when it comes to tourism.
Yeah.
We have not seen that kind of level of tourism in this country. And I could only imagine what people like you and I are going to react when we see that kind of level. The difference between Italy and Dubai that I see, Tahir, their government does not want to spend in their infrastructure.
Yeah.
And to know best, sit with a local
Yeah.
and they will tell you exactly what they are going through in their own country. They don't have the infrastructure to support the number of tourism that enters that country.
Yes.
Tahir, there's no public transportations. We literally had to wait hours for maybe a train, maybe for a metro. It was a nightmare, and the entire time I kept on telling my wife, see, this is why you should appreciate Dubai.
Right.
See, this is why we have this in Dubai.
True.
You don't see it here. So people who have never traveled out of Dubai, I think they should before they start complaining about
Dubai.
every little details in Dubai. We are literally in heaven. And put everything on the side, Tahir. When you speak to the locals when you're traveling into this country, before I travel to any of these countries, I have to pull out YouTube videos on safety precaution. Really? What kind of vacation is this where you have to start educating yourself how to protect your wallet, how to protect your watch,
How to
and
protect your phone.
how to protect your
Yeah.
phone, which areas not to
What
be
scams to avoid.
in. Exactly. What scams to avoid. Tell me honestly, how many of those videos you have to watch before coming to visit Dubai?
Nothing.
None. So that tells you a lot about the country where you live in. So this has brought me at a whole new level to appreciate the country where I'm, and that's one of the biggest reason I decided to retire in this country.
Lovely. That's great. And they also have retirement visas now, golden
Of
visas.
course.
Yeah.
They have Tahir, Dubai's government is for the people.
True.
I
Absolutely.
wish I could say
I
the
totally
same
understand
thing.
that. And I totally agree on that.
I wish I could say
Yes.
the same thing for America, Canada, or the other
I think, one thing which
states.
I've realized, okay, living in Dubai, that the government has least interference in your day-to-day lives. As long as you're following the rules, you're not breaking any law.
Which are very
Which
important,
are very
by the way.
By the way.
Otherwise,
And
we'll
you
be no
should.
different than the other
Exactly.
countries.
And, we should respect the law and, abide by the law. As long as you're doing your work, nobody comes and bothers you. No government department, there's that. Nothing, It's you live your life, don't trouble someone else. Nobody troubles you. Live peacefully. And that's what even I love about Dubai.
Tahir, like I said earlier, we are learning a lot from other countries' mistakes.
And we're improving them.
Exactly. We still have a handful of people who always talk about, Dubai is very strict. Well, guess what? That's one of the reasons we are living here.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons we're peaceful over here.
I totally. I'm 100%.
If we
agreeing that.
if we give more freedom than that,
people have their freedom.
They have their freedom,
But there's
exactly.
a law. You respect the law.
exactly,
You
we
just
all
don't go crazy
respect each
with
other.
things. Yeah.
Tahir, I wasn't, like I told you, I was in America just before COVID. The amount of road rage that you witness in that country, where people are so frustrated
Yes.
from their day-to-day lives, where if you simply honk at another car, they literally walk out of their car and get into a fist fight.
Yeah.
They pull out gun on you. So that is not the kind of society we want for ourselves who have families
Exactly.
to end up being in that society. We want everyone to respect the laws here, follow the laws, so we all could be in sync.
True.
America, unfortunately, is segregated right now.
Yeah.
People are just divided
Yeah.
in so many different parts. You have the Democrats, you have the right wing, you have the left wing, you have the Trump supporters, you have the Biden supporters. So everyone has their own agenda and is thinking what's best for them.
Yeah.
But not what's best for the country and its people, which is why specifically these two countries, are struggling right now.
Yeah.
So one's misery, unfortunately, is a blessing for our country.
Ahmed, I think that was a great chat. If anybody is watching this from the US or Canada, we do have a specific, at our company, Prime Capital Dubai, we do have a specific division which caters to clients from the US and Canada, where we actually help them with everything, not just buying a property. Tomorrow, if you need a golden visa, you want a retirement visa, set up a business, guys, do get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to take care. Emma, thank you so much
Pleasure
for
was
taking
mine.
the time out.
Thank you so much,
And,
Tahir.
thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Thanks. So, guys, that was Ahmed from Prime Capital Dubai. He's a very dear colleague and a senior investment advisor working with us at Prime Capital. If you need anything to do with Dubai real estate, do get in touch with us. Me or a member of my team will be happy to assist you. And I'll be back with another episode of the Dubai Real Estate Podcast very soon.